What's up YouTube, Webberz05 here, coming at you today with Q&A number 76. So today's questions are brought to you by my good friends Darkmagician84 and also Sparkman91. So without further ado guys, I'll get into today's questions, starting with 5 questions from Darkmagician84. 1. Will we see Master Duel replays with Cyberdark and Blackwing? So technically I do have the structure decks for both of them, I just have not gotten around to sorting them out. I could probably have Blackwing sorted pretty quickly because essentially most of the stuff for that deck is already in the structure deck, I just need to alter the ratios a bit. Cyberdark might take me a bit of time to sort out because of how I'd want to play it. Which, for those who know me, I'd want to do something cheeky with Berserker because that's bloody fun. However, I've checked on Master Duel, and Berserker is an ultra rare, so that's going to take a lot of grinding just to get that crafted. For those watching who don't understand how Master Duel works in terms of building decks, so they have a select number of structure decks that you can build, and with structure decks they have the rule that you can buy it a maximum of 3 times. Which typically in actual TCG is probably what you're going to do anyway, so makes sense for that. And then any additional cards you want to add into it, you can either obtain from specific packs, or you can use the craft point system, which lets you take craft points and craft a card of that rarity. Unfortunately for me, Berserker Assault is an ultra rare, so that's going to take me a while to sort out, so thus Cyberdark's going to take me a while to sort out, and I've also checked through cards that are available, and the Ishizu cards are not legal. However, I'm not sure. However, I think I've seen a couple of replays on Master Duel using Grass, so I need to check and see if Grass is legal, because if it is, then that is another Cyberdark variant I can make. But for the moment, as I said, Blackwing's probably something I could sort out within a couple of days. Cyberdark's going to take me a while to figure out a build and see what's available. But I will think about it. 2. I know you like tea and hot chocolate, but do you also like coffee? No, I don't. I've tried coffee, I've tried it with things like adding milk, sugar. I can't find a ratio of it that I like, so no, it's just not really my thing. 3. Thoughts on the latest Webberz support? So I haven't taken like a thorough look on what it does, but based on some of the artworks of it, it looks quite nice. And I think the only main card I've seen of what it does is the new Fusion Monster, which looks really decent. I would definitely be interested to see what the Webberz deck is like in action. I think I've seen that meta-wise, it's being combined with another deck. I just don't remember which one it is. As I said, I need to do some like proper research into seeing what the deck is like. But yeah, I'd definitely be interested in seeing what the deck is like. 4. A select few Endymion cards have been reprinted. Master Magician, Crusader, Magical Citadel, Spell Power Grasp, and Servant. No idea if I've missed any, but Mighty Master of Magic has definitely not been reprinted. Why do you think that is? Well, so for the majority ones that you stated, they will have been reprinted because they were released with the original Spellcasters Command structure deck when we got the original Endymion and they first got introduced. And subsequently, the Konami opted to reprint them with the redone version of the structure deck when they brought in the Pendulums, so that explains why those got reprinted. As for Servant getting reprinted, that was simply because of OTS purposes. They decided to upgrade it into a super rare from a common because Endymion was absolutely huge at this point, which subsequently got to the point that Servant had to be limited. But we're past that now because she's back at 3. But I still don't have my foil Magisters, which I want. And maybe a couple of the Mythical Beasts. And Institution. I'm not a rarity whore, I swear. And as for Mighty Master not being reprinted, I think the simple reason on that is he's already an ultra rare, which is already a pretty decent rarity. The only upgrade they would potentially want to either upgrade it into like a secret or an secret, which could be done with a side set. There just hasn't really seemed to be any side sets that kind of like supports like spellcasters, so probably why he hasn't had any reprinted yet. And naturally he's not going to get the ulti treatment in an OTS unless the Endymion community all comes together, hits up several mass events and just absolutely takes it by storm. But being perfectly honest, despite my faith in Endymion as a deck, in the current format we're in, with Droll being so massively prominent, Endymion's probably not going to get its chance to top for quite a while. Until such point, Droll kind of just shifts out the format. Which I'm sure it will at some point, but they need to like do another crucifixion list to hit all of these decks that do mass amounts of searching. And final question from Dark Magician 84. Would you rather just play Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Pokemon for the rest of your life? So, I'm going to quickly assume that this is referring to the TCG games, as opposed to like the games as a whole. But I can quickly answer both. So if you're referring to the TCG games, I would probably pick Yu-Gi-Oh! Simply because much more diverse. I like having the flexibility of doing lots of different things with my deck. And in comparison to Pokemon, as much as I like Pokemon and how straightforward it is as a game, Pokemon's just kind of one of those. It's just kind of one of those things. Like if there's like one specific Pokemon is just one of those games where one specific deck can just completely dominate a format, and because of how Pokemon formats work, you're gonna be stuck with it for like a couple of years, as opposed to Yu-Gi-Oh! Where if one deck is really good, you only have to deal with it for like a couple months until Konami changes the ban list and deals with certain cards. Pokemon, however, works under a rotation system where they don't really ban cards, but every couple of years, cards under a certain So Pokemon cards are sorted by letter for those that don't know. So currently we're about to be moving into a new format. So all cards under the letter E are getting rotated out, and then everything from F onwards is staying in. So for the most part, what people know in terms of what's getting taken out with E is lots of the V and VMAX decks are getting taken out, Mew included, which I am so happy with because Mew is absolutely annoying to deal with and I don't like it. But now I'm starting to discover more recent kind of decks that I don't like as much either. But they're not nearly as bad as Mew. So, yeah. But in regards to like video game wise, I would probably say Pokemon. I'm a mass fan of the Pokemon games and franchise. I've loved the game since I was a kid. I've gotten into the game since I was like in my mid-teens, playing it throughout multiple gens. Still just really love it. I just like having this flexibility of training whatever I want, however I want, and making up fun and interesting teams to battle with friends or competitively. So yeah, overall that's just really fun. And in regards to like video games of Yu-Gi-Oh!, I mean, it's basically like the same thing. I mean, it's kind of like the same thing as the TCG, just maybe having a bit more flexibility in what you're playing, because naturally you don't have to buy the specific cards, they're typically there available. With the previously mentioned with Master Duel that you have to craft specific cards, but that's still not so difficult. So that's it for questions from Dark Magician 84. Up next, got a couple questions from Sparkman91. One. What do you think about listening to music while playing Yu-Gi-Oh? Do you find it rude if your opponent has earphones in listening to movement while playing against you? Yeah, I'd have to personally say I wouldn't really like it if my opponent was wearing headphones while I'm trying to play a game against them, because it kind of feels like they're not really like paying attention or taking it seriously, which makes me feel really bad as a player. And also makes me feel like they're maybe being a bit arrogant, like they feel they don't have to be paying attention, so that, yeah, kind of gets under my skin. But in regards to, like, but in terms of like the video games, even so with those, I sometimes might be listening to music if I'm playing, but that's typically if I'm on Master Duel in solo mode, because in solo mode I'm against the computer. I'm not being time limited. I've got all the time in the world, and it's not exactly like the computer's really that difficult to go against. But if I'm in like a proper match, then I will be set there, concentrating on what I'm doing, just get on and just play out my match. So yeah, really not hugely fond of headphones while I'm playing Yu-Gi-Oh. 2. Would you rather play against a stun deck, an FTK deck, or an OTK deck? It kind of depends on what kind of OTK FTK it's going for. Like if it's like if it's like this really complicated style FTK, maybe I'd be interested in just watching to see it. I'd be happy going against that just to see it play out and see how complicated it was. Like that FTK Exodia deck from the recent YSTS that was using pendulums, because that was very interesting. That was very interesting to see of seeing Pendulum pulling off an Exodia combo. And also a couple of years ago during like Guard Dragon format, my friend Will, he was playing an FTK version with Orcus Guard Dragon. The first duel round I'm like, okay, he's comboing off. This is pretty interesting. Then I saw the Tomb Cannon Soldier and I'm like, okay, this is probably going to be really annoying. He's like, effect, trip it off, burn me for 500. Effective combo effect if it's Heretics to just keep looping it over and over again. And it's like, massive amount of setup just to do that. First time around I was like, okay, that's fine, I'm okay with recording that. That's definitely an interesting OTK on my channel. Game 2, I regained control, took him out. Game 3, I opened no disruptions going second, and he just proceeded to go into the full combo to FTK loop me again. In which case I was just like, I've seen this once, I know what you're gonna do, I'm out. So yeah. Yes, I feel it does kind of suck to lose to an FTK OTK, but sometimes if it's an interesting style strategy, it might just be interesting for me to see it play out, so that I'd probably be okay with going against. Stun decks are just like, you're not playing. I mean, my playstyle is kind of like, yes, my playstyle is a bit like you're not playing as well, but I'm control as opposed to stun, which control is like, you can play to a point until I don't like what you're trying to do. 3. Can you think of one thing you like about some of the decks you hate? Well, first I have to have a small think about kind of the decks that I hate. I don't really think there's like too many decks that I hate specifically. It's more like specific things about the decks that I don't like. Like Sword Soul is an interesting strategy. I don't really have anything against Sword Soul. I just have a massive issue with people going long one for game against me in time. That's like my only main issue with it. Other than that, the deck is quite interesting and amusing, and I like its interesting combination with Tenyi as well. So yeah, I don't know. So yeah, that's fine. But yeah, thinking about it, I can't really think of too many like decks I hate because of the deck. So don't really have a huge opinion for this question, I'm afraid. And final question. What are some of your favourite gimmicky cards? I really like Yajiro Invader and watching replays where it slides around the board. Musical Sumo Dice is also really funny, and even has an animation in Master Duel. Oh, I did not know that about those ones. I might check that out later. But in terms of gimmicky cards, I think probably one of my favourite gimmicky cards that I've used in my Yu-Gi-Oh career is probably Berserker's Soul in Cyberdark, because I've typically played it in a variant when I'm an extremely heavily monster style variant, and it's just fun to see how much burn I can deal to my opponent after poking them for damage with Cyberdark Edge. I definitely can think of a couple of times where I've been able to hit the massive 4K, which was very much fun. I can also remember a couple of times I had a very disappointed hit 1 to 2 cards, and then I actually unfortunately had a spell. So yeah, Berserker Soul is definitely a very fun and gimmicky card that I've played throughout my career that I really love. And on that note, guys, that is all the questions I have for today. So thank you very much to DarkPatrician84 and Sparkman91. Very amusing questions as always. And if anyone else has any questions for me, I do these Q&As every Wednesday UK time, morning or afternoon, depending on my schedule. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I will see you next time.